وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Put this on the side. So this is we're talking about today Hajj and Umrah, and where in the Quran and what's being mentioned in the Quran about Hajj and Umrah. And obviously the Quran is not a history book, and it's not like a school or college book. So it's not like taking the subject by subject. So the beauty that you really need to take the Quran collectively and then spot where things are actually mentioned. When we were doing page by page, you need a lot of information and a lot of skills to actually see what Allah is talking about and why in the ayah in that specific position. So unless you have always recalled what Allah has been talking about, you find yourself lost. Why Allah brought this subject here? Why He didn't bring that subject? So if we take subjects, probably better for our level to actually understand. So this is the first ayah mention the holy mosque in Mecca, the Kaaba in the Quran, and that's before Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. And Allah Azza wa Jal said, "Inna awwala baytin wudi'a lin-nas," the first house, and here meant for worship. In fact, it was the history tells us that was the house for Adam to live in. So it could be a house as well, but it is becoming the place of a direction for worship and contacting with Allah Azza wa Jal. So it became a qibla. So when the time of Adam, when Adam came down, it was already built, and has been built by the angels on earth. And here, build لِلَّذِي بِبَكَّةَ. Anybody knows what Bakka means? Mecca. And Bakka in Arabic means the place where there's a lot of people there and they're always jammed. There's always people a lot moving around Kaaba and Tawaf, and especially in Hajj and Umrah. So الَّذِي بِبَكَّةَ, blessed, Mubarak, and a guidance to all mankind. So Allah later, Allah would say, لِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ لِمَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. I don't think that's in my collection here. We'll have to remember it. وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ لِمَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا.
It's just the second.
Yeah. فيه آيات بينات. There's signs in that house, including one of them مقام Ibrahim, the station of Ibrahim. Obviously, that's Allah linking us to the second erection of the Kaaba, the time when Ibrahim Allah alayhi salatu wasalam rebuilt the Kaaba. And the station of Ibrahim, when you see it, there is the footprint of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. And to my imagination, I haven't read it anywhere that why it is like a round, but because probably a lot of people were touching it, so it became like nowhere near the shape of fingers and foot. So this is why the Muslims put it in a glass, so no one will touch it again now.
So, are you saying the Kaaba was there? I know you said Ibrahim rebuilt it, but he was there before his time.
Yeah.
Before time of Adam, the first man on earth.
It was built before Adam came down to earth, and 40 years later, the Prophet ﷺ was asked about the Holy Mosque in Al-Aqsa, and he said after 40 years the angels built Al-Aqsa. So it is the two, according to the hadith, my understanding, that both built by angels, Kaaba and Al-Aqsa, 40 years in between. And in it there is signs, including the station of Ibrahim. And this is why when they tried to move it outside of the circle, the scholars objected, because that's a sign Allah wanted it to be there. So Sha'rawi was talking about, he was a lecturer in the university in Jeddah, and he proved to them with evidence that that has not to be removed. It has to stay there where it is.
Sorry to interrupt you. You said that the Al-Aqsa was built 40 years after Kaaba.
Al-Aqsa, yes. This is in the hadith of the Prophet.
Kaaba was built before Adam.
It's not clear in the hadith. They asked the Prophet which mosque was built first. He said Kaaba, and then they said the next one. He said Al-Aqsa, and they asked how long in between. He said 40 years. Right, but so the hadith itself doesn't tell that Al-Kaaba built, and then Adam came and lived in it, and then went to Palestine and then built. Who built it? It's according to understanding of many scholars that the angels built both.
So the population in Jerusalem would have been
no population,
zero, yeah.
No human. It's the same in Kaaba. There were no human in Mecca, no human on earth.
Yeah.
So Adam came, and
but these places were there
before Adam came.
Before anything else.
Yeah, and they said it was his place of living. He lived there, Adam alayhi salam.
But with the Al-Aqsa, then the Dome of the Rock wasn't there though, because that came.
No, Dome of the Rock was built by Muslims after they came to Jerusalem when Umar ibn Khattab came, and that was the mosque. But the mosque was built by Umar ibn Khattab, the time of Umar. It was built on an empty land. So we're talking about not a mosque that the Prophet ﷺ in Isra and Maraj went into and prayed. There were no mosque. And the whole prophets came and prayed with him. But that's a miracle of Allah Azza wa Jal that they were praying in a mosque.
So Al-Aqsa was it Qibli or was that the Dome of the Rock? Because there's two in the same compound.
The Dome of the Rock is in the back of the
golden one, the golden.
Yeah, it's in the back of the mosque.
And there's another one there.
The mosque is one in the front, and the Dome of the Rock in the back, in the backyard. So the mosque there, the Dome of the Rock here, and the Kaaba there.
So that's the mosque we're talking about, not the Dome of the Rock. That came later.
Both came late. When Umar ibn Khattab came to Jerusalem, there were no mosque there. So he found an empty land there and he built the mosque there. And if you see, the mosque is built and the wall on the side of the mosque is where
it was built there 40 years after
Kaaba. Yeah. So, but both the mosque in Jerusalem and the Kaaba demolished. They were not there. When Ibrahim came, he rebuilt the Kaaba. When Muslims went to Jerusalem, Umar ibn Khattab rebuilt the mosque in Jerusalem. So both were demolished and had to be rebuilt. So here, فيه آيات وبينات, one of it, the station of Ibrahim, which Allah Azza wa Jal kept there as a guidance. Where do you pray? Because the Imam, when he gives a khutbah on Friday, he gives a khutbah in there. And they put the member, and when it's no Hajj, but it's Hajj, he pray inside. So they tried to move the station inside because of the jam outside, and that clash with this ayah here. So you can't move it. Allah wanted that to remain the station of Ibrahim. And whoever entered the mosque, من دخله كان آمنا. Everyone who entered this mosque expected to be safe and secured. So this is a statement by Allah Azza wa Jal, expected to be fulfilled, expected to be executed. But not always when you go there you are safe, because when Abdullah ibn Zubayr clashed with the Umayyin, with Muawiyah and Yazid, they came and demolished the mosque and rebuilt it. Abdullah ibn Zubayr actually demolished it and built it, and when Al-Hajjaj came, and they demolished it again and rebuilt it as it was the time of the Prophet ﷺ. So they stopped the changes which Abdullah ibn Zubayr did. And that's taken from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. He said to Aisha, if you people were not too close to paganism, I would have demolished the Kaaba and rebuilt it as it was the time of um, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. But he didn't. And although he was there, the Prophet was there, nobody is going to object him, and they will see what he changes. But he didn't want to make changes which is so ingrained in the mind and the heart of the Arabs. Because I was listening to the mazhab of Shafi'i by Sheikh Yusri Jabir, and he said when the Prophet ﷺ came to do the Hajj, the Arab used to do Hajj alone without Umrah. The last year of the Ba'athah of the Prophet ﷺ, Allah Azza wa Jal banned them from coming anymore. You had your choice, you refused, then Allah Azza wa Jal said, إنما المشركون نجس فلا يقربوا المسجد الحرام بعد عامهم هذا. That pagans are impure spiritually here, and they should not come near the mosque after this year. And he didn't say the mosque, he said anywhere near the mosque. So in Mecca, when you go from Jeddah to Mecca, there is a sign, I think around 20-25 miles away from Mecca, to say non-Muslims should go that direction or that direction. So the surrounding is quite a long circle which is banned for non-Muslims. And here man istata'a ilayhi sabila, whoever can afford to go. And here istita'a, the scholars took it from the several hadith, obviously being a Muslim first and being old and mature, past puberty age, and you have the means to go there. The means is the traveling vehicles and expenses for your food, and some add to it expenses for your family if you have one at home, and if it's safe. So it has to be a man istata. وَمَنْ كَفَرَ here, and kafara here also is a lot of discussion between the scholar. Kafara here denied, because kafara denying, denial of things, kafar. Kafara here, they split into two groups. Some say kafara means he's out of the Sharia, out of Islam, because he negated one of the pillars of Islam, so he's no longer a Muslim. But if he is not negating it is a pillar, but he doesn't want to go, he denied that he has to go, he has the mean to go. Allah Azza wa Jalla is ghani. Allah doesn't need us to go there. He's not desperate that we go to the holy mosque. Now, they took man kafara means deny from another hadith of the Prophet, that he saw a majority of people or larger number of women in hellfire. And they asked the Prophet, why is that? He said, because they yakfurna al-ashir. They deny that the husband has been spending on them. And the Prophet said, might be use all your life you're trying to spend on your family, and then one mistake, the wife would say, oh, you haven't done anything for me, you haven't. So the Prophet called it yakfurna, kufr. This doesn't mean that they don't believe, but they deny, yakfurna. So waman kafara here is the one who deny that Hajj is important. I met somebody who did Umrah in Ramadan, and there's a hadith, Umrah in Ramadan like Hajj in reward. I said, I've done Hajj. How? He said, the Umrah in Ramadan doesn't count. But now, is he denying that Hajj is obligatory or not? I didn't actually discuss with him much. The second ayah, when Allah talked about وَإِذْ بَوَّأْنَا لِإِبْرَاهِيمَ مَكَانَ الْبَيْتِ, when Allah Azza wa Jal showed Ibrahim where the house or the mosque is, Kaaba is. So this is the first time it was rebuilt after it has been demolished and gone and swept away. So here Allah Azza wa Jal said وَإِذْ بَوَّأْنَا لِإِبْرَاهِيمَ مَكَانَ الْبَيْتِ. So obviously all the movement of Ibrahim was like following a plan for Allah Azza wa Jal. So he came from Iraq to Palestine. Then from Palestine, it sounded like a reason to go take his wife far away with his son because he didn't have any children until he was in his 80s. And when Hajar was given to him as a gift by his wife and he married her and he had Ismail alayhi salam, the stories say that Sarah was a bit jealous from Hajar and she wants her to get rid of her. That's one side of the story, one story. Another story that he became so attached to his son, Ismail. So Allah Azza wa wants him to attach to Allah Azza wa. So that's your favorite son, that's what's keeping you so engaged and occupied. Okay, we'll put him far away. So you devote yourself to Allah Azza wa. But that was the main reason that Allah Azza wa want to re-establish the Kaaba. Because in this ayah, Allah Azza wa showed him, بَوَّأْنَا لِإِبْرَاهِيمَ, He showed him where Kaaba should have been, the house of Allah Azza wa, that should not associate a partner with me, and purify my house to those who make tawaf and those who pray standing and make ruku and sujood, pray, mainly pray. So it's for the people doing hajj and for the people doing salah that become a mosque of Allah Azza wa on earth. And then he instructed him, وَأَذِّن بِالنَّاسِ فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ, call people to come to Hajj. Now here adhan, Ibrahim questioned, how would I reach people? I'm in the middle of nowhere and it's only me and my wife and my son. By that time there were more people coming living in Mecca, so it was very limited, very limited, few population around. And Ibrahim said, I can make these people hear me, but what about people far away? And Allah Azza wa Jalla said to him, you have to call and Allah will make people respond. عليك الأذان وعلينا الإجابة. So Allah Azza wa Jalla said here, يأتوك رجالا, they come walking and they come on quite wasted camels, thin camels. Obviously, the camels traveling from Iraq or Turkey, or by the time they reach Mecca, will be lose all their, muscles and fat and things. So it's quite exhausting journey. وعلى كل ضامر يأتينا من كل فج عميق. They come from the far away land. So you just need to announce. And why they come? ليشهدوا منافع لهم, so they could benefit from the journey and remember Allah Azza wa Jal in known days, which is the 10 days of. If you want to take Hajj itself, Hajj will be you need to do tawaf al-qudum, make tawaf around Kaaba, and go to, if you are mufrid, if you are doing only Hajj, you go make tawaf al-qudum on day like 7. On day 8 you go to Mina and you stay in Mina for one night, and on day 9 you go to Arafat, and then on day 10, the beginning of it, you stay in Muzdalifah. In the morning of it, you go and make the throwing of the stones, and then you go and do the Tawaf al-Ifadah and the Sa'i, and you go back to Mina on day 5, 6, and 7 when you throw the Jamarat, second, third, and fourth, and then you do Tawaf al-Wada', farewell with Tawaf, and you go back. So we did the first Hajj, I did Hajj Mutamatt'i', I did Umrah and then Hajj. The second Hajj, we lost 5 days of the period, so we only left with 6 days, and we did Hajj in 6 days. We came back, me and my wife.
It rained when you were there, right? I think it rained, flooded.
Yeah, it flooded as well. Yeah. But when we went, it was we did only the Hajj. So that's Hajj Express. We used to take them 3 months to go and come back. It took us 5 days to go and come back. Mm-hmm. Alhamdulillah, I mean, we did the Hajj. Then my wife did Umrah with her children. I did Umrah with my wife when we were in Saudi. And my daughter also was 1 year old, so I was 8 months old. I was carrying her, so she did Umrah. So remember Allah Azza wa Jal, thank him for his gifts to them. And Allah wants us to eat from these slaughtered um, uh, qurbani, and feed the poor. My first Hajj, we didn't know who to give the meat to because it wasn't organized like now in 1978. My second Hajj, you just go and pay money to the bank, and the bank will buy the sheep and slaughter it and freeze it and distribute it. So it was much easier than my first Hajj because I had to buy the sheep and find somebody to slaughter the sheep. It was, and it's not like 100 years ago. It was just in 1978. But so much progress from 78 to 2005 when we did the second Hajj. And then Allah said, ثم ليقضوا تفثهم. They do what's expected to be done, the farad and nawafil and wajib in the Hajj. And if they have another, they promise Allah to do something, they fulfill their promise, and they make the tawaf around the Kaaba. And the last ayah linked to it, وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ حُرُمَاتِ اللَّهِ فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ. Whoever respects and honors sacred truths of Allah Azza wa Jal, it is good in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, the second or the third ayah came, the fourth ayah have been through it, again back to Ibrahim. It's in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 125. And we are talking about here prior to the coming of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So in ayah 125, Allah says, وَجْعَلْنَا الْبَيْتَ مَثَابَةً لِلنَّاسِ وَأَمْنًا. So Allah is saying here that He is the one who made the house a place of assembly for people and a place of safety. So it's extremely bad event when people turn the mosque to a battlefield. And that happened in 1980 when Jahman or something, he claimed that Al-Mahdi appeared and he's going to free all mankind, and he barricaded the mosque. They stored inside in the basement, they stored a lot of butter and dates and using the water from Zamzam, and they announced that they are removing the royal family, the Saudi family. And it was a battle between them and the army. And at that time, those who actually made progress were the Jordanian army. And they managed to dig holes and send plastic explosion and managed to get rid of them. They managed to catch 80 alive and executed them in 8 cities. In every city, they hanged 10 of these people. Right or wrong, but it was for a few days nightmare for the Hajjaj who were without any bad sin or any bad wrongdoing from them, imprisoned in the Holy Mosque until they were freed. And the Holy Mosque was still, it's quite big at the time. So Allah expected to be peace, a place of peace, not a place of fight. وعهدنا إلى إبراهيم وإسماعيل أن طهر بيتي, gave them the responsibility, Ibrahim and his son Ismail, to purify his house for people who are making tawaf and making i'tikaf. So you can make i'tikaf in the Holy Mosque in Kaaba and pray, obviously, or rukat sujud, also pray. And subhanAllah, I mean, I was listening to a khutbah today from Egypt, and the Imam was saying the excitement of going to Hajj actually starts probably a week or 10 days before, or probably before, more than that. If you really wanted to Hajj, you really start feeling excited. At the beginning, when I did my second Hajj, my first Hajj, I went with my mother and my auntie, and I was working already in Riyadh. My second Hajj, I was saying to my wife, "You want to go Hajj? Go with your children because I've done my Hajj." And for some reason, I was sitting by the computer and I bought a ticket for me and my wife. Suddenly became convinced I'll go with my wife. But I was so heated to go to it, so much, desperate to go, that when we went, and it's a long story, when we went, we were denied travel and came back home. Me and my wife were crying all the way back because, like, feel you're rejected, you're invited, and then Allah Azza wa Jalla crossed your name off. And no, so, and,
Must be distressing.
so yeah, beginning I was not keen on going, and then I changed. I want to go, and now I was rejected flying. I became more desperate to go in myself. Allah must have rewarded him as if he's in Hajj, because he was so desperate. I should be there. I should be there. And he's, older age, and so, Allah Azza wa Jal gave that responsibility to um, Ibrahim and Ismail. The rest of the talk about here that Allah Azza wa Jal made Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, Imam lin-Nas, a leader to the people. And Ibrahim made the dua here to send from among them a messenger. So this ayah that he raised the base, they raised the Kaaba and built it, and asked Allah to accept, and ask Allah to make them Muslimin and complete the ritual of Hajj. And then he made this dua, رَبَّنَا وَابْعَثْ فِيهِمْ, to send among them a messenger who will tell them your signs, your ayah, and teach them the book, and teach them wisdom, and purify them. You are the Aziz, the Hakim, the most wise. Now Allah Azza wa Jalla accepted this dua from Ibrahim, but Allah Azza wa Jalla rearranged what He's going to do. So we come across this ayah 4 or 5 times in the Quran. But Allah put first tazkiyah. He put the tazkiyah first, and then teaching the Quran, and the signs of Allah and the book, and he put hikmah the last. So when the scholar teaches the ayah, probably I'll bring you the other ayah to show you what I mean. We say Shinabi. ويعلمهم. Oh, Jazakallah khair. Yeah, this is the ayah which Ibrahim, the dua which he made. He put Zakihim last. Allah repeated the ayah. That is the one. He is the one who sent to the illiterate Arab a messenger from among themselves to first يتلو عليهم آياته, to show them Allah is the creator. This is the moon, this is the sun, this is the universe, the galaxies, the animals, the sea, the ocean, the mountain, and teach them after he purify them, after he teach them that Allah is there, is the creator. He will purify them, purify their souls, and then once they are purified, they believed in Allah Azza wa Jalla, they are purified. He start teaching them the Quran. And my teacher was saying, like, if you want to teach people, you need to clean the board first. So when you write, people will see the writing and they know. While if there's a lot of writing and you write, people will get lost. So once they are purified, you teach them the book, and you top it up after that, the wisdom. There's no point teaching people wisdom, they don't know the book, they don't believe correctly, and they don't have purified soul. They're still lying, still cheating, this a lot of so Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned that in Surah Al-Baqarah, and then came to the Hajj itself, and Allah Azza wa Jalla in Surah Al-Baqarah and then Ayah 196, He started telling the Muslims what to do. وَأَتِمُّوا الْحَجَّ وَالْعُمْرَةَ لِلَّهِ. So you have to complete the Hajj and Umrah for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla.
You recite between the two places, in Kaaba, this ayah.
This ayah. Yeah. He's now giving more instruction what to do. وَأَتِمُّوا الْحَجَّ وَالْعُمْرَةَ لِلَّهِ فَإِنْ أُحْصِرْتُمْ فَمَا اسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْهَدْيِ. Now, if you take the Hajj is 4 pillars. The Hajj is not valid if any of these 4 not done. So the first one is the niyyah, the intention. Not ihram. Women don't put ihram. They just go there closing. This is rukn. If you don't do the niyyah, you're doing it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Because here, Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying, do the Hajj and Umrah for the sake of Allah. Purely for the sake of Allah. Now, niyyah, Arafat, Tawaf al-Ifada, and Sa'i. So you have 1 Tawaf, 1 Sa'i, Arafat, and niyyah. Now, only Arafat has to be on day 9. The rest can be done anytime later. Niyyah, obviously, before you even leave home. One of the events when the Prophet ﷺ went on the Hajj was the only Hajj he did towards the end of his life. Aisha radiallahu anha had a period. She stood in Arafat. Obviously, she had the niyyah, and she did the sa'i, but she couldn't do the tawaf. So the tawaf, you have to be free from janaba and have wudu. So even if he loses his wudu, he has to stop, go and make a wudu and come back again. So tawaf around Kaaba has to be with both wudu and ghusl. And women during the period cannot do that and cannot do that during the childbirth. So فَإِنْ أُحْصِرْتُمْ فَمَا اسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْهَدِيِ. When you come to wajib, any of the wajib you drop, or any of the things you shouldn't do, you do, then you need to slaughter a sheep. And I counted them, they are 13. So, ihram is one of them, to put the ihram on. If you couldn't put ihram, you have to slaughter a sheep. My second Hajj, I couldn't do the full ihram, I had to put on my shoes, then I had to slaughter a sheep for that. Ihram from miqat, another wajib. If you don't put ihram from the designated place for Medina people, for Iraq people, for Yemen people, for Egyptian people, for you have these miqat. Miqat. You have to go back and put ihram from miqat. So you can't put ihram if you're coming from Britain. You can't put ihram in Jeddah because the raghibs for Egyptian has to be from there. So you have to go back to miqat somewhere. This is why we put ihram in a plane, or you put it in the airport.
Bahrain.
You did it in Bahrain.
You stopped in Bahrain.
Yeah. Yes. And then you come arrival tawaf. Again, you have to do it. If you don't do it, you will have to slaughter a sheep. And then the departure farewell tawaf. If you don't do it, you have to slaughter a sheep. Then staying in Muzdalifah, the same. If you don't throw the stones, the same. You have to slaughter a sheep. If you don't cut your hair, you slaughter a sheep. If you put perfume on, you slaughter a sheep. If you put a hat on, you slaughter a sheep. If you have, if you hunt, cut trees or hunt animals, then you pay slaughter a sheep, which is 13. That has to be in Kaaba.
No.
And if you can't slaughter a sheep, you don't have the money, you have to fast 3 days in Kaaba, in Mecca, and 7 at home. And this is what he meant. فَإِنْ أُحْصِرْتُمْ فَمَا اسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْهَدِيِ. If you didn't, there's no choice, you couldn't do it, then you slaughter a sheep. And then he said, do not shave until you finish now the Arafat, Muzdalifah, and you go down to Mecca. Then you slaughter a sheep and you cut your hair. If you have an illness in the head and things, and you have to do Siyam, 3 days in Mecca and 7 days at home. أو صدقة أو نسك. فإن أمنتم فمن تمتع بالعمرة إلى الحج فما استيسر من الهدي. If you do Hajj and Umrah, you have to slaughter a sheep. If you do Hajj and carry on, do Umrah and then carry on to the end, you slaughter a sheep. And if you don't have the money, you fast 3 days in Hajj and 7 days when you go back. And that has to be completed 10 days. And that's if you don't live in Mecca itself. And be mindful of Allah Azza wa Jal. So he started telling about the details, and the next one in Ayah 156, you see this 196, but one next to it, 156, so it moves you forward and backward in the Quran. And 156, it's amazing because this is really interesting ayah. إن الصفا والمروة 58 sorry. إن الصفا والمروة من شعائر الله فمن حج البيت واعتمر فلا جناح عليه أن يطوف بهما. And this ayah, when you read it, anybody knows where?
In between the two places on Kaaba, that before you turn the Maqam Ibrahim, this first corner, and the next corner. That corner you need to recite this one.
Yeah, in the Safa wal Marwa, the hill of Safa and the hill of Marwa, you make the sa'i. But when the Muslim entered Islam and they want to do the sa'i, the kuffar put one statue, Naila and Safil and Marwa, one in Safa, one in Marwa. So the Muslims don't want to look like they're making sa'i between the two idols. So they were very embarrassed. So Allah Azza wa Jal sent this ayah to say they are part of Hajj. So don't worry, when you go to Hajj, make sa'i between the two of them and don't stop because there is the two statues. But he put it, because if you go to the Quran, he put it in in the right place to talk about the importance of being detached from looking at the statue or the idol. When we came to Britain, there's a lot of statues and idols and everywhere we're going to do. When we were in the hospital, we want to pray, make a prayer room, and they suggested we use the chapel. So I said to the happened that the chapel facing Kaaba, and they have the cross there. I said we will use the chapel, but we need to remove the cross. We can't pray in front of us a cross. And the chaplain refused. So I said, no, we can't do that. Then they suggested we put a curtain. So when we come to pray Jum'ah, we draw the curtain and then we pray. When we opened the place in Touchwood first it was in the building upstairs, a round room. And they said after 2 years, they came to me and said, we monitored what's going on, and 97 to 98% use of that room was by Muslims. The rest are not using it. But the awful other groups, some of them are really awful, they refuse that we put a sign for Qibla. You're not using it. You're not going to use it. And I can prove to them afterward that, as I said, you're not going to use it. It's going to be used by Muslims. So they suggested we put a gold circle in the Qibla. So when somebody comes, unless you know this gold circle meant the Qibla, you wouldn't know. So this is really awful from other religion, because they objected and they're not going to use it. But anyway, then they came and said that created trouble to them because you have to take the lift and then security check before you enter, and then there's so many things, and they didn't like occupying the admin floor. So they came and made a place next to the John Lewis. And they said, you have the toilet near, fine, you can make the wudu. Upstairs, we did make wudu. When we met them and they said, we are going to offer you a faith room, I said to them, that will really make you money. He said, how? I said, Muslims come, they do 3 hours, 4 hours shopping. Zuhur's there, they go home to pray Zuhur, they don't come back. But if they come here, I'll go upstairs, pray Zuhur, come back for 3 or 4 more shopping hours. You make more money. Oh, that's it. Okay, we'll do it. The chief executive at that time, he was the mayor became a mayor of Birmingham. Then he accepted that, if it's making money, that's okay. So, so here Elijah said, don't worry, you just go on and do the sa'i. And the Prophet ﷺ didn't make Hajj until he removed all the statues and idols. So he didn't make Hajj until it's clear. And he was moving around with his stick, he was pointing at them, and Allah was destroying them, the idols and statues. Then Allah came in Ayah 197, talking more about, but again, it is more about Hajj in Surah Al-Baqarah than in Surah Al-Hajj. You think you're going to Surah Al-Hajj, you're going to know all about Hajj. No, you need to read the whole Quran to know. So in Surah Al-Baqarah 197, talking about more Al-Hajj Ashhur Ma'lumat, and then more details. That is known months, Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, and Dhul Hijjah. And whoever is doing Hajj, فلا رفث ولا فسوق ولا جدال في الحج. No sexual activity and no splitting from the religion, from disobeying. You split from religion, people split from one item sometime or a whole of the religion. But splitting from one item, like, people might drink or might do, naughty things or whatever. No fusuq will then nullify your Hajj, no sexual activity, and no argument. No argument in Hajj. That's in a way playing for the benefit of the traders. So they expect you not to haggle them with the price. So to avoid haggling them with the price, I asked, where is the shopping center? And they told me it's outside the center of Mecca. I went with my wife and we did the shopping. It's like supermarket, like here. You buy the price on the ticket and you buy and go. But if you want to go to the shop around the Kaaba, it's extremely inflated price and you can't haggle them. Take it or leave it. But here, Allah expects you not to haggle or argue. But people argue.
This on a plaque on the wall in the shop.
Yeah, yeah. لا جدال في الحج. Yeah. So, وما تفعلوا من خير يعلم الله. Whatever good things you do, Allah is aware of it. And تزودوا, when you go to Hajj, تزودوا 2 things: food, drink, but taqwa, piety, being closing to Allah Azza wa Jal, to prepare yourself and your soul to be really obedient to Allah, trying to get close to Him, trying to please Allah Azza wa Jal, and fear me or be mindful of me, all you who have wisdom, who have brains. So when I went the first time, my mother came from Syria and she brought with her meat, fried meat, and okra, and like food we want to cook. I said to my mom, I actually need them in Riyadh, and we left cooking, preparing meals, and we were living on boiled egg, cans of tuna, and few fruits and vegetables. So we canceled cooking. In 1978, it was everybody comes and they put a tent wherever. Very risky, very fire, and there were a lot of fires actually at that time. 1975, thousands and thousands killed. Because they cook and their cars, they bring their cars. That's also abolished. Bring their cars and their cooking things and big casseroles, and then the gas bottles. When the fire started, the gas bottle exploded and fall and somewhere else. A car explode over there, and another, and I saw it when I went. I did my first Umrah in 1975, and the guy who took me with the Umrah, he took me to Arafat, and he showed me, and Mina showed me the leftover burned vehicles and buses and cars and the trucks, and then the government, with pressure from a lot of other governments, they have fireproof tents. No one can put any tents anymore. It's all government put, and there's fireproof, and there's no cooking and no cars and no vans, and only the official buses moving, which is much safer. And then they did more to reduce the jam as well. So here more details came in Surah Al-Baqarah, and then ayah number 200.
How can we understand? You know, the Hajj, the month of the Hajj is 4 months.
3 months.
Yes, 3 months.
Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, and Dhul Hijjah.
Why we do only in Dhul Hijjah, not other months?
No, at that time they used to take 3 months to get there and back. So you start with the talbiyah and with the ihram later from your home. So when I was in Syria, the Turk used to come across Syria and Jordan and go to Hajj. It takes by buses and taxis and things 2 days drive, but on camels and donkeys and things take 3 months. They used to, when they want to make Hajj, they used to go and ask everybody to forgive them, and this and please, and then because many of them they would never come back, they might die on the way, the journey very exhausting. Now I said, it took me 5 days and I'm back. I've been to Hajj, yes, when? But this is Al-Hajj Ashhur Ma'lumat, and then Allah Azza wa Jalla in ayah 197, he told us when we leave Arafat. So he didn't say stand in Arafat, but he mentioned it in this ayah. When you leave Arafat, and he say afattum, because like a massive rivers of people. What we did when I went with my wife, we didn't take the buses. We walked from Mina to Arafat. And then in Arafat, we left at 6 o'clock. We arrived to Muzdalifah at 8 o'clock. Took us 2 hours walking. The buses arrived 11 o'clock. There was so much jam and things. Mm-hmm. So when I was walking with my wife, because we didn't have any group, we left the group from day 8. And then, rivers of people walking.
Impossible. It's hours.
Yeah. And you take 2 hours walking, 5 hours by buses.
I was with my elderly parents in the bus. We couldn't walk.
Yeah. We were elderly, but
we wanted to walk, but they didn't have to walk.
No, we didn't want to wait for the buses because they said it's 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, no buses, so we walked. And here he mentioned Arafat, and then he mentioned Muzdalifah, and then Mash'ar al-Haram, and you need to recite the name of Allah and remember Allah as He guided you. And then again he used the word afidu, min haythu afad al-nas. You just follow the crowd, basically. So there's no details in the Quran about what you do, A, B, C, D. It's all in the Sunnah. And you have to actually look into the Sunnah what you do. In the Quran, he didn't even say which was Rukn and which was Wajib. Because Rukn, if you don't do it, your Hajj is not done. Sheikh Yusuf Jabal telling us about a story of one of his friends. He's asking him about his mother went to Hajj and she didn't do Tawaf, Ifada. So Tawaf Ifada, Rukn, you have to go back and do it. He said to him, is your father alive? He said, no, he died before she went to Hajj. So she didn't have any sexual activity since she went to Hajj. So he said, okay, book for your mom, take her there, let her do Tawaf al-Ifada. So you can do Tawaf al-Ifada after 5 months, 10 months, providing there's no sexual activity. Because this is the only thing you cannot do until you do Tawaf al-Ifada and finish from it. So ثم أفيضوا من حيث أفاض الناس. and you go here from Muzdalifah back to Mina, and you throw the stones on the Jamar al-Kubra. And then in ayah 200, he's expecting us to make zikr in the Ayyam al-Tashriq. Ayyam al-Tashriq is the days when Maghrib is 10 past. I'll be finishing inshallah before. فإذا قضيتم مناسككم فاذكروا الله كذكركم آباءكم. أيام التشريق, which is day 11, 12, and 13, it's called أيام التشريق because they used to slaughter the sheep and to store the meat to eat it the rest of the year. They used to hang it on the washing line facing east. So you will see all these meat. It's not now, but that was in the past. It's like they called it the Ayam al-Tashriq, when you use the east to put your meat on the washing line. And I mentioned 2 weeks ago when Abad and Talha came from South Africa, they brought qadid, the dried meat. But the qadid they brought from ostrich. My wife didn't like it, but I ate them. It's quite nice. And to me, it was nice. This is what my mother brought when she came to Hajj, because she brought food. Said, no, don't eat, including the meats, which is dried. So here about the 3 days of Tashriq, and then Allah Azza wa Jal, moved on in the Surah Baqarah or something else. The next one mentioned in Surah At-Tawbah, I mentioned this before we leave Surah Al-Baqarah. The last one in Surah Al-Baqarah in 189, when Allah Azza wa Jal talked about يسألونك عن الأهلة قل هي مواقيت للناس والحج. Ask about the crescents. He said that's a way for people to time themselves and to tell you when Hajj is due. And then he said ليس البر أن تأتوا البيوت من ظهورها ولكن البر من اتقى وأتوا البيوت من أبوابها واتقوا الله. Now he mentioned this here for 2 reasons, about this astronomical phenomena of crescents, and the crescent changing. And then he said it's not piety to come jump over the wall of your houses. Why they were doing it? They used to say, they went to Hajj and they purify themselves, so they don't want to go back to their houses, enter the door, they disobeyed Allah through it. So they are pure now, they used to jump over the wall. So Allah is trying to take the physical interpretation to metaphorical interpretation. So it's not piety that you jump. You're not good because you jumped back to your house from over the wall. You don't want to spoil your Hajj. Jumping over the wall will not spoil your Hajj. Going through the door is a normal behavior. Yeah, so you go home, you enter your house through your door and stop that, obviously. There were a lot of things before Islam which was more superstitious or more, and misunderstanding or misinterpretation. Islam came and removed all these silly behavior, and then put them back, enter the houses from his door. There were a story when Umar ibn Khattab was checking in the city, and he heard somebody drinking alcohol. So he jumped over the wall and said, stop the enemy of Allah Azza wa Jalla, and took him to court. So in court he said, I did one sin, which is drinking alcohol, but you did the 3 sins. First, you were spying on me, and Allah Azza wa Jalla said in the Quran, وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا. Secondly, you jumped over the wall, and Allah said, enter the houses from its doors. So I'm not allowed to jump over the wall. And the third one, you called me enemy of Allah, and I'm not. I love Allah. See, that's the problem with alcohol. So he said, Umar Khattab said, okay, just you keep it quiet, I'll keep it quiet. And he left him. And the last ayah I collected is in Surah At-Tawbah, ayah number 3. which nothing to do with the Hajj itself. But here Allah Azza wa Jal said, وَأَذَانٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ إِلَى النَّاسِ يَوْمَ الْحَجِّ الْأَكْبَرِ. Here, when Allah Azza wa Jal gave the mushrikeen 4 months to stop fighting the Muslims, and because they would keep carrying on making this attack and that attack and this attack, so they were given 4 months to stop all this fight and mini fight and minimum fight, maximum fight. That's if you repent, yes, good for you. If you don't, you're not going to be. It's not going to be difficult for Allah Azza wa Jal. But He made the announcement, يوم الحج الأكبر. Anybody knows what al-Hajj al-Akbar?
It's Friday, falling Friday, Arafah.
That's the wrong understanding.
The wrong understanding.
Yeah. Al-Umrah is Hajj. Al-Hajj itself is the great Hajj. So Hajj al-Akbar, when the Prophet ﷺ sent Abu Bakr Siddiq with to lead the Hajjaj, and then he followed him with Ali ibn Abi Talib. He said to Abu Bakr, you need to announce to people that Kafirin cannot move around Kaaba anymore, and that they will have 4 months cooling period, and they should never attack the Muslim, never do any mishap or any attacks and things. And you should announce that on the Hajj al-Akbar, the main Hajj, because a lot of people will be there from all over the Arabian Peninsula. And then he followed him by Ali ibn Abi Talib, said, you go and you make the announcement instead of Abu Bakr. So Abu Bakr was extremely worried why the Prophet ﷺ gave this big job to Ali ibn Abi Talib. Anybody knows? Because the Arab at that time, the Prophet ﷺ always respected the habits of the Arab. He wasn't like, clashing with them. The Arab will not take from a leader any instruction unless come from the leader himself or a member of his family. So they will not take it from Abu Bakr. So he sent Ali ibn Abi Talib because he is the cousin of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and he made the announcement. There's nothing to do with being you are Abu Bakr and he's Ali and he's closer to the Prophet or not. It's more to keep with the habits of the Arab that the announcement has to come, especially a major change here, that no one should move around Kaaba naked. They used to do it. At night. Because the Qurayshi people, to improve their trade and sell clothes or whatever, they used to say, no, you can't move around Kaaba with the clothes which you committed sin in it. I haven't got any more clothes. I haven't got the money to buy clothes. So they moved during the night naked, men and women. So when Islam came, he said, this is the message. No one should move around Kaaba naked. No mushrik should come near Kaaba anymore from now on. And yeah, I don't clear it with water. It doesn't go. So from that announcement on the Hajj al-Akbar, this is where it took the name from, Hajj al-Akbar, the Hajj, because the Umrah, as I said, they used to call it Hajj. The word Hajj itself, because you go again and again and again and again. When the student read Quran in many mosques, they go like this, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillah. Say, stop Hajj, stop making Hajj. It's not making Hajj. He's making Hajj because you go again and again and again. Many people were going like every year. We have teacher Shaheen, teacher Shaheen in our school. Her father, may Allah bless his soul, he died now. We used to go every year. Beside the Umrah. Do you know that? You heard of it? Yeah. He used to go. And I know many people, teachers sometimes like to take their students and they would be leading them and teaching them so they go more often. Now, we can't apply. You have to, between the Hajj and the next Hajj, 5 years. And when I went to Hajj, the first and second time, especially the second time, we were in the middle of a stampede twice, which could kill us, actually. My wife lost her glasses, broken. And when we went to Arafat, they were stampeded by the entrance. So we took a side way and we sat there till all the jam softened. Then we went inside. Obviously, you need to be inside before sunset. But we were inside in a way. It was Namira ahead of us, so we were inside, but inside on a side of the side of the side. But Hajj al-Akbar is the main Hajj. Can you remember any more ayah I haven't come across on Hajj? If you or you want to ask a question, or
Maybe you all have mentioned, I don't know, about, the killing, cutting, those things in the Hajj.
is it in the Quran?
I think it's around, the cutting the tree, break,
The hunting.
hunting.
Yeah, but I need a word
Or,
to bring it.
The Hajj al-Kubra, I've seen the big Eid. That's the same word, isn't it? Big Eid.
Eid al-Kabir. We call it Eid al-Kabir in Syria. In Arab, call it Eid al-Kabir. Eid al-Saghir is the Iftar, Eid al-Fitr. And Eid al-Kabir is the Eid al-Adha.
So Eid al-Fitr is this smaller Eid.
Yeah, smaller Eid, 3 days usually. In Eid al-Adha, 5 days.
Oh, is it?
They take the day of Arafat off and the 4 days of Eid.
Also, you do loud for 3 days.
Takbir, yeah, takbir for 4 days. You start from Maghrib on Arafat day. You finish in Asr the 4th day. Yeah.
So what happens to all the meat that you have to say? You said you have to slaughter a sheep. So what happens to all the meat now?
They're all frozen now and exported though.
Oh, it's frozen.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a videos on it to show you what they do.
Poor countries,
Yeah, food and I'm trying to find the ayah on
Maghrib time.
من بعد صلاة العشاء من بعد صلاة العصر. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. اللهم اجعل اجتماعنا هذا اجتماعا مرحوما تفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما. May Allah Azza wa Jalla make our meeting blessed and protect us after leaving here. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات